Hi, this is Shirley Mosier from Sound Sewing, Silverdale, Washington, and the PFAFF Creative Sewing Center, Lacey, Washington. This video is to demo the IDT feature of the PFAFF sewing machines. A lot of our PFAFF sewing machines do have this feature. It's this black arm that can snap down at any time, or just by pulling down and out, it can disengage. They do refer to it as the IDT, which stands for Integrated Dual Transfer. So what it is basically a built-in walking foot or dual feed, and it is geared and timed to my actual movement of my feed dogs throughout the whole machine. So on this machine, you have the feed dogs that feed down here, you have your walking foot up here, and they are going to walk together forward and backwards together as the machine operates. You can add a walking foot to any machine out there, but it is an attachment that you have to take off your ankle to apply, and runs off the actual needle bar of the machine. It is better than nothing, but it only has a spring on it to forward spring feed. So that means as long as the feed dogs are going forward, it's going to go forward and they're walked together. But as soon as the feed dogs go backwards, it's going to go forward and you're going to get this opposite push. So it's not as good as a built-in, but it is better than nothing. But with PFAFF, we have them built in. So to show you how this works, I'm going to take a piece of sheer fabric. I'm going to leave it disengaged real quick so you can see how most machines would work with this. This is just lining fabric that I got at the local fabric store. It's pretty persnickety. It's not very fun to play with. So if I was to sew on this, on the bias, on the stretch, I'm going to start to sew. And you're going to see how it wants to curl up. It's not happy. Okay, so if I do a needle down and raise my foot, we get this out of my way here. Okay, so you can see how it's curled up. I'm now going to engage this IDT. I am still on that bias, nothing has changed. And now I'm going to start to sew, and now you can see how it lays perfectly flat. So when I'm done, I'm going to just cut. I'm sorry, we have a cat in here. She's trying to have her 2 minutes of fame here. So looking at this sample, you can see how this is where I sewed without the IDT, and then once I snapped it, engaged it, how it laid perfectly flat. So that's because with this, what's going on is when without the walking foot, you have the pressure foot holding down on the fabric, and the weave wants to move. The IDT is helping pull that weave through from the top to the bottom. Come on, Bear. So that is what is preventing that gathering that we have up here. So the other thing I like to do with this, because I am a home deck sewer, I'm a garment sewer, so I do work with a lot of these kind of fabrics, but I also am a quilter. And so I just have the beginning of a 9-patch here, and I've sewn these strips together, and as a sewer, quilter, you always iron your seams in the opposite position. Well, I can come in here and just lock these seams in just like you normally would, and I don't have to pin them because I know that that top layer is not going to move. So I'm just going to sew down, just go right on over. With that IDT engaged, and you can see how my corners are perfect, and I didn't have to pin. Because of that IDT feature, and it's integrated into my feeding, it's going the same length as my feed dog, so my top layer does not shift and pull down and move. The other thing is if you're doing sweatshirt fabric has a pull. It has a definite pull on the diagonal, so let me do this on the diagonal. So I still have that IDT on. I'm just going to get this directly under here. Now I can't do a standard straight stitch with this because I need it to be able to pull with the fabric. So I'm just going to come up to my machine here, and I'm going to select on my expression, PFAFF expression, I'm going to select number 2 in the first category because that's a triple straight stitch. So it's going to sew over itself 3 times. So I'm going to now just go ahead and sew this down. Again, I'm on the bias of sweatshirt fabric. A lot of times your machines will stretch this and make it look like a ripple or a rainbow. Should have made a smaller square. All right, so I'm just going to end it right there. So now you can see how I still have my triangle. It is not stretched and rippled in any way. but this stitch will still stretch with my fabric. So doing a neckline, a cuff, anything like that where you have to mend it and you need to put your arm through it or your head through it, a standard straight stitch would have just broke. This is going to move with the fabric and stretch, but also my IDT did not give me a wobbly line. Also want to show you one last thing here is the IDT has nothing to do with strength. It just has to do with the feeding process. So I'm now going to disengage this and go back to my standard straight stitch, and I'm going to do denim. So I'm doing 2 layers of denim, and now I'm just going to roll this up, 3, 4, 5, 6. Goes up and over, and that is without the IDT. A lot of people think that PFAFF has the IDT for strength, and it has nothing to do with strength. It has to do with feeding. So you can see I could do denim, and I'm doing it all without that IDT. So all the IDT is for is to help the fabric stay flat as if you were sewing on the straight grain of cotton. The last thing I want to point out as a quilter, if I can reach across my daughter, sorry, is inset points and things with that IDT. I am not getting any stretch. I have this diamond on my Colorado log cabin quilt here where I've had to put in 2, 4, 6, 8 stars and how they all joined right in the center, and there is no wobbling, no warping, and it's all perfectly flat. That is what the PFAFF IDT will do for you, whether you're a garment sewer, a home deck sewer, a quilter, a crafter. It's going to allow your fabric just to behave as if you were doing cotton on the straight grain. Thank you.